Okay, I have a feeling I'm live. And okay then. Hey, my name is Jude Marie Green, and thank you for joining me here at NASFiC 2020 in Columbus. I write short science fiction, fantasy, and occasionally horror. I've been published online in anthologies and magazines and podcasts. I attended Clarion West, and I also won the Speculative Literature Foundation Older Writers Grant. I'm planning to read 3 flash fiction that are reprinted in my collection, Glorious Madness, which is available on Amazon on Kindle and softback. I'll post the links for all of those a little bit later. But I'm going to start out with Rock, Paper, Scissors, Glass, which was published in Daily Science Fiction December the 10th, 2018. Aunt Tad lounged on a porch swing, half in and half out of the sun. I brought her some lemonade because I was thirsty and hot, sweating through my shirt. She didn't sweat. She waved her hand slowly through the beams of sunlight, admiring the rainbows they painted on the floorboards. Most people cast shadows, she said. I shed refractions. It's kind of odd, but you get used to it. She took the lemonade in her glass hand. She wore a tank top and abbreviated shorts, leaving nothing to the imagination, really. Glass skull, no hair, of course. Glass bones and skin, glass chest rising smoothly with her breath. Transparent air everywhere except for some discreet cloudy spots shielding her internal organs. I sat next to her on the swing, squinting to see where the glass of lemonade disappeared against the transparency of her hands and her lips. I guess you'll know soon enough, she said. Your mom once says you want to join up, take on the change, go into battle as an amorphous. I nodded. Yep, I have to serve. I might as well serve with the best. And the most beautiful, I thought. But I'd already embarrassed myself with that thought. She'd ignored me when I said that. Aunt Tad stretched like a cat. I heard dangerous crackling from her spine. She wants me to talk you out of it. She pointed her face at me with a considering silence. I expected this. I already signed up. I don't know why she doesn't want me to be on the elite team. You don't? I know you heard me last night. I shattered glass with my screams. She waggled her feet. 3 toes were missing from the right, 2 from the left. I gasped. No worries, sweetie. I have a repair kit. I even picked up some dichromatic glass. Some decoration is allowed these days. Can I watch? The word slipped out and I blushed. She's my aunt, I thought furiously, not a curiosity, not something to observe. She snorted. Maybe, your mom and I fought over getting into the amorphous. We both had the scores, but they said only one of us could join. Only one opening, they said. So we settled the issue with a rousing game of rock, paper, scissors, a strategy game as old as time. But that game always ends a tie, I blurted. You're thinking tic-tac-toe, she said. Was that disappointment in her voice? My face heated up. That nice flush will go away after the change, you know. She smoothed my cheek with her fingers, which weren't cold at all. I thought they'd be cold. I was so proud that I beat your mom 2-1. I'm still not sure why she threw the tiebreaker to me, but she did. Aunt Tad sat up straight and pushed the swing into motion with her damaged foot. Say, want to play a game or two? I won't throw them to you, I said. Of course not. 1, 2, 3. I held out my fist. Rock. She held out her fist, too. Tie, I said. Rock smashes rock. No, my fist is glass. When we touch rock, our nanos disintegrate the material. Rock feeds us. Enemies can't hide from us in caves. I win. I almost said, that's cheating, but I didn't. That's how she wanted to play it. I'd play along. Okay. 1, 2, 3, she said again. I held out my palm. Paper. She held out her own palm. I win, I said. Paper wraps glass. I win, she said. Glass shreds paper. We aren't tame little blown glass figurines. We drop over the enemy and shiver off flechettes of glass. Flesh doesn't stand a chance against us. Nor clothes, nor armor. Better than bullets, that's what my sergeant said. Her eyes clouded over. fields of blood and glass. I thought about this. But doesn't that make you the perfect weapon? Killing the enemy, isn't that the idea? She shook her head. Winning, that's the idea. Killing is a strategy. One more, I said, and counted. 1, 2, 3. I put my fingers out as scissors. She left her hands down. I win, I crowed. Want to play 4 out of 5? She shook her head. The only way to win is not to play. But I like to play. And your mom won. She has you. I grasped her clear, warm hand. Not for long. All right, and that's the end of rock, paper, scissors, glass. Okay. Now this next flash is a bit more experimental. It is The Color of Infinity, and it was published by Everyday Fiction on January 24th, 2018. The gate to anywhere else but here pulses in syncopated rhythm. Male models in kilts and heavy boots stand on either side, enticing passers-by. The gate beguiles Trina, whose unease with her life presents as clothing that does not fit, hair that is always untidy, makeup that goes from misapplied to absent. Her anxiety sets her apart from the crush of commuters and workers. She is not one of them. The kaleidoscope of fractal shapes and prismatic colors shining from the pulsing gate stops her cold in the midst of the jumbled, mad rush of the crowd. The models flex their muscles. The word preen runs through her mind. And the colors flash, and she stands still. Someone shoves her. She stumbles, the expensive coffee drink, cappuccino or latte or macchiato, she can't remember which, splashes her already stained blouse, a deep space blue silk linen blend frayed with overuse. She drops the cardboard coffee cup and the remains of a tan drink spray her skirt and hose. Instead of sobbing, her usual reply to disaster, she regains her balance and gazes into the oddly organic gate. Again, someone jostles her. She falls against the gate and sinks into the pulsing color. The models smile at each other knowingly. Bystanders blink, but Trina doesn't come back. She is gone. Her infinity is the color of fresh brewed free trade coffee, organic, liberally weakened with half and half and a dash of vanilla. The gate pops up 2 blocks away in a different demographic. The models, a man and a woman, wear silver jumpsuits and fur-cuffed plastic go-go boots. Students wandering by on the way to City College assume the pair engages in performance art. Except for Artie. He ignores the models as window dressing, which they quite literally are, and examines the pulsing color of the gate. Artie is a maths major and knows the physics of color inside and out. He groks all the levels of information held in wavelengths of light. He groks that the gate is speaking, and he can almost hear the silent sounds of light. Someone yells, "Feed me, Seymour," and someone else shoves Artie. He's whipped thin, appears to be a 98-pound weakling, but Artie works out. He doesn't budge and doesn't turn to confront the shover. He edges closer to the gate. The silver-suited models stare at Artie. He wonders if they are trying to communicate telepathically. He doesn't think they can. If telepathy is ever proven using scientific method and peer review, he is certain it won't be the kind of psychic muckety-muck astrologers push. He thinks telepathy will prove to be light waves. In other words, color. He concentrates on the gate's color show, and someone shoves him again. His shoulder falls into a shade of puce that feels like shadow. He videos his arms half in and half out of the gate, which has stopped pulsing and settles on a color that reminds him of hamburger secret sauce. In the spirit of scientific inquiry, he steps through the gate. He is gone. Students gather around the gate, wait for the act's finale. The models shrug. Artie's infinity is the color of cloth-bound physics text brimful of color graphs and sigma equations. The gate arrives at an elementary school playground. 2 women dressed in gingham aprons, high heel shoes, and pearls, with their hair stuck on their heads in varnished bouffant head beehives, smile and smell vaguely of chocolate chip cookies. The gate pulses, entices, throws sparkling designs meant for incompletely formed minds. The students ignore the light show, accepting the unfamiliar as yet another new thing to learn about. But children know what mom should be, and these models are not any kind of adult figure they understand. The children cry, all of them. It's the appropriate reaction. Playground supervisors don't question the models because surely someone in an admin gave permission for a children's show. They herd the children away. A bell rings and the youngsters, trained to return to classrooms at the sound, abandon the gate and terrifying models. Except for Bobby. Bobby's a 6-year-old first grader. Her hair is long and curly and she has rebellion in her bones. She ducks away from the adults and returns to the gate. The gate pulses with attractive organic color. The models stoop down to the little girl's level. Someone pushes her and she takes a giant step forward, too close to those empty faces. She skitters backwards. She's a little scared and a little ticked off, like her dad would say. She likes her recess time, and that was interrupted. She likes her friends, and they were crying. Someone taps her shoulder, a tiny shove. She knows she has to do something now. She bounces a big rubber ball, enjoying the hollow sound as it hits the playground's concrete. She waits while the gate pulses through a prism of color, waits until the shades match exactly, then throws the ball hard at the gate when it mimics the bubbly orange-red shade of the rubber ball. The gate has absorbed an enormous catalog of items in its journeys, and a playground ball won't hurt it. But in that bit of kinetic motion, the gate registers its defeat in this venue and vanishes, taking the failed models with it. Bobby is not satisfied with the outcome, but can't pursue the gate. She wanders back to her classroom where she'll be punished for being tardy and probably fined for losing the red ball. No one will care that she sent the gate away. Bobby's infinity is not yet decided, but it will contain the color of strength. Okay, and I've got a third one, which I probably won't have time to complete, but I will tell you later on where to find it. This is Jasmine Spain, and it was a Toasted Cake podcast on May the 20th of 2018. Grandma smelled of mushroom steak sauteed in garlic butter and apples soaked in brandy. And when she paused in her relentless movement between cooktop and sink and fridge and pantry, the orc cloud of flour settled around her t-shirt and jeans. Her apron LED message changed from a first meal welcome to Roughnecks eating before shipping off to the asteroid belt and cycled through the day's menu until it finally would say closing time and the last ship would detach and power away. After my daily lessons, I would stand in the kitchen corner and watch her. She'd put me to work chopping or peeling or washing if I stood too long, but that was a small price to pay for the occasional bites of good food. At night, she'd take me into her lap, wrapping her arms around me. Tattoos followed the scars the length of her arms, ending under her sleeve caps. Were they everywhere on her, or did they stop suddenly like tan lines? I never found out. Her stories never involved her own adventures. She talked about the ebb and flow of mining the asteroid fields and what miners would dock for meals and how much profit the flying kitchen, as she called it, would earn. Sometimes she sang to me. Sometimes I fell asleep in her arms. One night after all the dishes were cleaned and stowed, I noticed that Grandma was distracted. She hadn't hummed all afternoon. She stood still in the middle of the kitchen, listening to ominous clanking outside the ship. She saw me staring up at her and gathered me in. I was cranky from an afternoon of being ignored. Not a single treat. And I demanded, sing me a song. Grandma tilted her head. I know some lullabies. Sing Jasmine Spain, I said. She jumped like she'd been shot, and she laughed. Yeah, perfect timing. Okay. She shifted in the chair and positioned me just so. She said, do I remember? And she laughed again. Grandma, of course you remember. Of course I do, she said. She sang to me in her hoarse, whispery voice. Jasmine Spain as a baby. Through the airlock hatch crawled quick and free. Crew cast a net, the babe caught the mesh, but she saw her parents no more, no more. Grandma cleared her throat. She was pushed. Babies on a spaceship are a new thing. She resumed her song. Jasmine Spain is a lady. In space kissed a pirate thief girl. She sliced out her liver. She diced up her lights. And pirates were heard of no more, no more. Grandma clutched me a little more tightly than strictly necessary. Judy Bernardino. Now there was a pirate. You never wanted to hear the sound of her mag boots on your hull. Life was a bit more cutthroat back then. She paused to listen to the strange ship noises, then started singing again. Jasmine Spain met a boy chick, lost her heart and her flower to love. He poked and he prodded and stole what she had. He's not alive no more, no more. Grandma tilted her head slightly to the left and pursed her lips. Grandma? She put a finger to her lips. I heard nothing but silence. After a full minute, she sighed. They're through. Nothing for it now, I suppose. She shifted me on her lap and sang again. Jasmine Spain planned a jailbreak, rescued lives sent to die in deep space. They called her a hero, but shipped her away, and she saw her crewmates no more, no more. The bulkhead in front of us glowed red, then focused in a white line. Grandma's voice shook a bit. I'm getting too old for this. She stretched out her legs, not letting go of me. One hand dipped to her armpit, and she brought out a dart gun. The bulkhead split, and raiders dashed through. She shot the first two, but wouldn't have had time for the third who hulked behind them. Good thing I'd practiced my darts that morning. I had a few tucked in my belt. The third guy dropped on top of the first two. Nice shooting, Grandma drawled. Between us, though I wasn't much help, we repaired the bulkhead and tied up the three idiots. That's what she called them. Grandma got on the comms and requested a visit from the patrol. Slow as molasses in space, she said. The idiots will be our guest for a while. I helped her trot the idiots to bunk room. They walked without too much prompting, wait in a comfortable tiny room, or have all the freedom of space. Grandma lingered in the passageway a bit longer than necessary. Don't you know who I am? She said. She tapped her foot in rhythm with her voice. Jasmine Spain's an old woman. With a child, some raiders she stopped. Deciding their fate took all of her strength. But she'd vowed she'd murder no more, no more. She'd vowed she'd murder no more. She banged the hatch closed and spun the lock. Grandma? Yes, baby, she said, her hand lightly on my shoulder. I stared up at her. Will I have a song when I grow up, just like you? Her eyes lit up. She squeezed my shoulder again. Your song will be better, baby. Okay, guys, I'm betting that I am out of time. And I'm going to go out to the Discord and leave some links so you guys can find those online if you want to read them for free, or you can actually go buy my book, which I would really appreciate. And thank you so much. And y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.